great to be here, I must say. Just to be in this sacred space together. Thank you. Becoming the change, be the change. It's been the buzzword around town or in our community lately. It was the theme of the concert, and we had talked over, Scott Newsom and I, about making it somehow an underlying theme for this month as we through Lent and peek into the Easter season. Interesting that I just learned as I was preparing for the lesson that this was not really Mahatma Gandhi's words, believe it or not. They do represent what he stood for, what his life was all about, but it was really his grandson, Arun Gandhi. I don't know if any of you saw that we had this Unity magazine available for free this beginning of the year. It's something that the Unity Worldwide Ministries gifted the churches with. So if you haven't got one, I think there's still some available. And in this article, he mentions that. It's actually me who said that, but of course it represents everything that his grandfather stood for. Arun Gandhi was born and raised in South Africa, and when he was 12 to 14 years old, you see, he had to deal with the whole apartheid situation, and there was a lot of anger and resentment in Arun. So he was sent back to India to hang around his grandfather for a while. And he had a lot of frustration, like, sometimes you do all this peace work and you don't really see the results, and the world stays the same. And his parents and grandparents told him, you have to look at it in a different way, more like see yourself as a peace farmer. And I'm going to quote from the article. It says, I was told that I should look at myself as a farmer who plants seeds in a field. Even if half the crop fails, he's still happy, he's got something. People. I can talk to you and plant all these seeds, but it's ultimately up to you whether you understand what I'm saying, learn from it, and change your life. So I'm all for that peace farmer concept, especially as I'm starting a new ministry within our ministry, the Spanish ministry. As you know, as of early this year, at 9:30, I have been doing ministry, unity in Spanish. And it also basically started with someone who approached me from the La Ley station. It's the #1 station in Spanish in the Triangle, to see if I would be interested in doing a show in Spanish. And of course I said yes. And then the universe moved to make that happen. And as that, then I said, well, I finally can get to start something in Spanish. But I must say that it's been really intense, because I have to sort of like do everything that I do here in addition to some extra, it's like a church within a church. It involves promoting, it involves getting ready for Sunday too, it involves raising money, it involves speaking Spanish too, it involves. But then I tell myself, well, I'm really allowing and walking by faith and trying to detach from outcome. I wonder when the show airs on Sunday morning, like, really people getting up to listen to this? I wonder how many are actually listening. And then it's like, Anna, this is beyond you. The way this came about, it was not you, and you just have to do your thing and surrender the rest. Then it so happens that almost 3 months into having this radio show here, some opportunity to have the show be aired in Puerto Rico, where I'm from, in one of the top stations that is almost a 100-year-old station, came about. And it's happening tomorrow at Monday night at 9. Ana Quintana is going to be back in Puerto Rico. So how do you like it? You know, the show is about healing to prosper. That's the slogan of the show, and it's a trip, a journey, a spiritual journey. Main DJ personality at La Ley. Hey, Eric, I know we will officially present to you next time. Yeah. He's been editing the show, and he gets all this music, and he's been great. And now I said, well, Eric, you're so good that you need to join us over here. So you'll hear more about that later. But anyways, the opportunity to be back in Puerto Rico, at least in the radio waves, I have no words to really share what that means at the soul level, because you see, for 20-something years, I worked in the family business, became a licensed Unity teacher, became a minister, and Unity was like a part-time. You know, my dad would go and play golf. I would go on a Sunday to be a speaker at a Unity church. And my heart was always like, how could I ever get out of this business world to go into full-time ministry? And you know, nothing was moving towards that direction. And then when I finally was ready to take the step forward, is when, you know, the story that I was diagnosed with cancer and then had to come over, and this is when we decided on relocating. I had given up on that idea. I mean, I became a full-time minister, but helping Puerto Rico, where I felt that my work was supposed to be done, it's like, well, I have to let it go and just trust that I'm where I need to be. But then it's like, right now, just to see, and you're going to see soon a picture of probably like my closest friend from childhood. We've known each other ever since we're one. I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, because... but, you know, we played Barbies together, we were in the swimming team together, we were in school together, we would play guitar together. And she happens to be a big media person in the island. And I felt so moved to know that she was doing this deal for me and for God. And it's beyond words to see how, and I'm going to show you a picture of when I was going through cancer. She took care of me for a whole week, and she has a beach home, and she spent, I have not shown that right now, 6 years later, you know, she's helping me too, or helping the ministry. And I asked myself, will I change all the problems that right now Puerto Rico is going through? And I say, no, probably not. And will the show be well received? I say, well, don't really know. And then I asked myself, knowing that there's 11 Unity churches in the island that are struggling, I asked myself, can that be an agent of, you know, can liven up the ministries? And my answer is, I hope so. So I hope that through this show, people would be more interested in knowing how these principles can really work wonderfully. So one of the things I must say, that I'm just allowing once again to just trust the flow of life and just say yes to whatever is coming to, and detach from outcome. And then when I get to, just remind myself that, like Mother Teresa would say, I'm just the instrument, I'm just the pencil that God writes with. I am, and I'm going to quote Aaron, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, I'm a peace farmer, and so are you. And we should just keep farming, detaching from outcome, not going every day to see how it's going, I'm watering it, right? And just keep working on ourselves. Because that's the thing. I tell myself, Anna, there's so much you can do outside, but it's your own transformation, the driver, everything you're doing. And I ask again, what does it mean to work on yourself? And we tend to go like, yeah, I know, I got to deal with some forgiveness issue, or my ego is still in the way, and we sort of like put our attention on the shadow aspect of ourselves. But I want to twist that conversation and say, no, it's about stepping up your light. Because we've been here long enough, and there's a lot of things we already get. Come on, let's not put ourselves down. It's more like a dharmic approach to us. And it's like really, really connecting and being faithful to your own soul, to that inner voice that just knows every time where you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go, and then be willing to, as you move forward into allowing the soul to lead, to just be open to everything outside and internally. And the reason being is that our souls, what our souls really want is just to evolve and to experience the light at a deeper level and be used, be a channel of transformation. That's what where the soul really blooms, to know that not only are we freeing ourselves, but we are allowing through us for God's power and God's grace to come through. And this is like really placing us in a position to be a catalyst for the enlightenment of others. I have a wonderful quote here. It says, "It's to give the world emancipation is the ruling desires of all minds that are spiritually awakened." To give the world emancipation. And some souls, I believe, are more ready than others. And I really believe that it is obvious that in our community, the readiness, it's very palpable. I see it in every group we have, in what we stand for. I saw it in an amazing way through creating this building. I remember being inside the office and just hearing, hey, there's more pledges coming in, more donations coming in. And I was each time so moved to see that these are people who are standing up and saying, hey, this mattered maybe more than getting a new car, or, God is important. Our spiritual life is important. Making a difference in the world is important. And this is really what we stand for. And we are attracting people in that frequency. And I'm happy to say that today, while I was doing my talk at 9, I could not be in two places at the same time. So I was honored to delegate on a person. His name is Hernan, and he's sitting in the back there. He's from Bogota, Colombia, and he recently relocated, wanted to be with his daughter and her mom. And guess what? He is a Course in Miracles teacher. He was a Course in Miracles teacher in Colombia. And he's led to our ministry, and he tells me, Anna, I was in business, I was a college professor, I had all the worldly things, and what moves me now is to just do spiritual work and serve. And then he comes at a time where I actually have a Spanish ministry he can come to, right? And it's like, oh my God. But I see that even though I have met him and we know each other for a month, I feel that we already know each other because we are in that same frequency. And that's what happens here, that the more we honor who we are and what we're supposed to do, we are attracting accordingly. So another quote, and this is amazing. I'm preparing my talk, and this friend of mine from Puerto Rico sends me this long quote, which allow me to go into someplace else, and I found this other amazing quote. So this one says, to follow the soul is to enter the greater domains of life, those domains from which we may secure everything that is rich, superior, and beautiful in the human experience. And I must say that reaching new heights is not necessarily easy and rosy, right? I believe that the more we grow, the more is asked of us. I'm convinced of that. The more responsible we are for our collective energy. And the more we evolve, or the more we expand, the more we are prone to experience solitude. And I don't want to say loneliness, because loneliness is like has maybe some negative connotation, but solitude, where you might see that maybe your former friends are not, you're not resonating that much with them. Sometimes they question things you're doing or standing for. Sometimes the closest ones judge you and criticize you and see you, right? A little like, what's going on there? And we're placed in a position of, should I just follow a lifestyle that pleases everybody else but me? Or should I just stand on my truth and be and express what I'm supposed to, this is where I'm at, right? And I was taken back to that period of my life where I stepped down the business for a year. Initially, I told me that only a year, so I can evaluate whether I want to come back or not. And I said, I know my path, it's a spiritual path. And he's a unity person, and he's shared with me all of this truth and all of that. And he said, Anna, you know what? I'm going to pay for a psychiatric evaluation and treatment. And I remember that day. It was a Good Thursday. I remember I meditated that Good Friday and said, Jesus, I get it now. When people just didn't get it. And now, of course, he's seen what happened afterwards, and he's like, oh my God, Anna, I congratulate you for standing up and being faithful to your soul, and to really have the courage to break the system, right? My husband is sitting here. I know he's going, because he was. So in this process, our belief system will be greatly challenged, and to me, it's constantly. Don't think because, okay, you became a unity minister and somehow, no, you're constantly, questioning my beliefs and the truth and and sometimes moments like that when something is not clicking anymore and you don't know what it is, and you don't know what the next step is, but this is not anymore, you go into an abyss where it's really dark because the new understanding has not gelled in yet, and you're like, but this is not anymore, and what do? You get depressed because you're not grounded anymore. You feel confused. And what I realize is that it's hell. But it's a hell that precludes, or it's a prelude of a higher experience of heaven. It's, I love Scott Peck in the book, it's a classic, The Road Less Traveled, that he defines depression as the feeling associated with giving up something, or at least something that is part of ourselves and familiar. That is depression. And then he says, since mentally healthy human beings must grow, and since giving up or loss of the old self is an integral part of the process of mental and spiritual growth, depression is a normal and basically healthy phenomenon. We don't hear that often, right? You're depressed, there's something wrong with you. How many years have you been in Unity? You know better. But it's like, no, but... So it's just a healthy process that at least I'm speaking for myself, the longer in the path, the more you're prone to experience that. And the good news is that I have always arisen stronger. And Michael Gott last week or 2 weeks ago was saying, and quoted Corinthians, it's like how in our weakness we become stronger. And that's why, we think of a lotus flower where, it's really sitting, right? What was holding it first before it bloomed, it was dark, muddy, murky water that created something as beautiful as that. That's why the icon of the radio show is the lotus flower, because I'm trying to tell people it doesn't matter what's happened, you can still heal and prosper and blossom, and I use that symbol. But the awakening and the growth process is also like one of the best-selling Chinese dishes, sweet and sour. And you know what? It has to be. I'm in the conclusion that there's a sour aspect. And I have realized that it has to be because when you're experiencing pain and suffering, the heart opens. And when it opens, there's a deeper sense of compassion. And you feel other people's pain like never before. And then you're moved intuitively to serve, because it's like, oh my God, I have been relieved. I want to help other people get relieved. And to me, the more we experience that, the more we are motivated to use this transformational process for the well-being of the rest of us. More and more we're in tune then with our core beliefs and values, not because this minister said so, or this guru said that, or I read it in a book. It's like you really develop your own sense of values and beliefs that it's at the soul level, you just know. And when you find yourself there, then it's like you have better judgment to screen what is coming to you. And this quote was from my new love, Ram Dass, not him, but he, in his blog by Terence McKenna, it says, you have to take seriously the notion that understanding the universe is your responsibility, because the only understanding of the universe that will be useful to you is your own understanding. So Fillmore spoke about the 12 powers and the power of understanding and wisdom. And these powers are really polished through moments like that where we question and we go through them, and ultimately, hopefully, we will evolve and awake. Knowing then, not from the outside in, but inside out. Being in a position where we, like I said before, we can't take from others what it's, I'm taking that, and this one I'm dropping. I am trusting that this is for me to do without a doubt. I know it's like I feel right now that the whole Spanish thing and the radio show, whatever it may be, it's something that I am supposed to do. The serenity prayer we hear so much about, God grant me the serenity to accept the things. I'm like, will not be necessary. You're living in that serenity of the heart that feels second nature to you, so that you effortlessly know the things that you cannot change and make it okay. It's part of the divine order. And then as the soul and the Christ presence and your higher self integrates more and more, it's like we know what to do, and the courage steps in to do it. Because you are in so much integration at the soul level. So I want to end with the quote that my friend from Puerto Rico sent me. It's by Christian Larson from The Pathway of Roses. It says, when your work is great, you become a great power for good among thousands. And at the same time, you do more for yourself than you could possibly do in any other matter. When you begin to live and work for your great purpose, you get in the current of great forces, great minds, and great souls. You gain from every source. You become one of the chief elements upon which will depend the future of countless generations yet to be. You become one of the chosen of the Most High to make a difference, to be the change, and to help your brother. Bring it on.
The road is long, with many a winding turn that leads us to who knows where,
But I'm strong enough to carry on. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. If I'm laden at all, I'm laden with sadness.
that everyone's heart isn't filled with the gladness of love for one another.
It's a long, long road from which there is no return. While we're on our way to there, why not share? And our Lord doesn't weigh me down at all. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. He ain't heavy. He's my brother.